All right, today we are going to look at the um, accelerated dragon, and then specifically, we're going to ask the question: is the 10 A5 or 10 Queen A5 variation of the Sicilian dragon refuted? Um, I'm not going to say refuted, but definitely, um, yeah, I'm going to say it's pretty much refuted because of the variations that black gets into are just too difficult uh, to play um, for I would say any player like at least expert strength to like hold those positions. So is it like a clear, just guaranteed, flat out win? Um, I'm not gonna say yes because anybody could blunder, but for practical purpose, I'm gonna say yes, and here is why. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna just look at the this variation in the accelerated dragon. So knight c6, knight c3, and of course you can transpose here from the Sicilian dragon proper, but Yugoslav attack. But we're gonna enter it from the accelerated dragon because usually that's how you end up in this position. So knight f6, and then you have this bishop c4 line, of course, preventing this idea. d5, castle, bishop b3, d6, f3, and now bishop d7, queen d2, and the line in question is queen to a5. There's a lot of good uh, ideas around this move. The fact that the queen comes out here supports this advance later on. A6, b5. Also keeps the c file open for the rooks and supports this knight coming here to e5 and then the c4 eventually, uh, which pretty much usually causes white to trade off that bishop. But we're going to show that this move is pretty much done for, um, at least at this point. So castles, rook fc8, this is all mainline stuff, and then king b1. Okay, simple, quiet move. All right, and it takes away a lot of the attacking ideas, um, um, in the position for black here. Usually black goes knight e5, and we'll be looking at the other line idea of Bobotsov, rook a b8 after this. But knight e5, right, with the idea of simply going to um, c4. And here's the move, bishop g5, right? Again, main line move. And the idea basically here is just to have the option, right? You can still go end up here later if you want with the king side attack, h4 and those ideas. But you also have the option to take this knight off and just simply play knight d5. And that's something that black has to consider. So we continue, knight c4. Now, before we go knight c4, one of the old school recommendations was just simply rook c5 with the idea of putting two pieces here and harassing this guy. So one move that's real simple to do and obtain this bishop is just to play bishop takes f6 right away and then just follow up knight d5, and this forces a nice ending uh, immediately, whereby you can play this in between move here. And of course, if this move, then you can see that the endgame is much better for white. So better after knight takes f6 check is for black to try to maintain this pawn structure with king g7. But then you just play knight h5. And again, instead of taking, the king goes on a little hunt there. And then after rook d2, then king takes h5. That's not too bad for black there. So queen d2 take first here with rook takes d2. And notice that this pawn right here is unprotected, so the bishop can't just shoot back. So the best way for black to proceed here is just bring the king up. And then here you could quickly obtain a bishop pair. Knight takes and king takes, which is still not too bad um, for white. For black rather. Better is to ramp up the pressure a little bit, move like f4, and then let's say for example knight c4, which is black's natural idea in the position. And now you play this move, with the idea being if king takes f6 this time, now you have e5. And notice how this bishop is vulnerable here. If king takes here, then knight f3 check. You're going to lose material. If you go here, then just simply rook e1. Again, after e5 check, you could just go back with the king. But then you have this compromised pawn structure here and control over the open files. And white stands better there also. So that's one of the ideas behind that early bishop g5. So you have that move, but better than just taking bishop takes f6. This move f4 can also be played here. On f4, again, if knight c4, bishop takes, rook takes, and then again the same idea with e5, because what happens again with the bishop being vulnerable on d7, once the d file opens up and this knight is taken away, then this piece is just left hanging, as you can see in this variation right here. Queen b6, bishop takes f6 again, and now you see the bishop is just left out there for grabs. So in this situation, black's only choice is to drop back to e8, and then you would just take care. Bishop takes e7. After f4, another idea is just to play knight c6, just going home, but you have the same scenario again. The e5. The other idea is knight to g4, and then rook e1. The idea here is to protect this pawn, right? Because there's variations where black will give up the exchange. So you fortify that pawn a little bit. And black fares a little bit better here. Notice the attack here. But still white is better. Look at the king side situation for white. White has all the prospects and pressure in the position as opposed to black. So that's kind of why this move rook c5 is kind of faded off as far as a response to bishop g5, because f4 is a good move, and again just bishop takes f6 right away, and h4 is a good prospect too. So instead of rook c5, knight c4 is popular. Again, takes, knight b3, and then queen e5 is pretty much the only move here. Queen d8 falls into a trap, and brings black to the brink of defeat here. Again, the principles are all the same, but this idea of opening up the D file with this added pressure on the bishop. If D takes, just simply bishop takes. So the major idea in this line. So E5, knight E8 is pretty much forced. You see already difficulties on the diagonal from G5 to D8. Knight D5 just putting more pressure on E7. And what are you going to do? Bishop F8. Queen E2 attacking the rook. And the initiative just keeps going. E takes. And if knight takes, right, then who's protecting this pawn right here? Then you can just strike with bishop takes E7 here, which is winning. And of course you can't take with the pawn, right? You can't capture with the pawn here because it's the queen, so that leaves us with rook takes. If rook takes, then just simply knight takes E7, check, bishop takes, queen takes E7 here, and you just go into this favorable ending where you're just up material. So going back, Queen D8 cannot be played if you want to survive. So Queen E5 is the only move that we really can think about. So Rook HE1, and here Black pretty much has to give up the exchange here by playing Rook takes C3, and this already again puts Black in a position where he doesn't want to be in. He's giving up the exchange early in the game, and basically White just has to just hold on and deaden the game and just win an exchange up. I'll show you some other variations here. One of the things that Black has to worry about is his queen getting trapped. This is one of the major flaws in the position. This piece is very important, and it's kind of out on the front lines too early in the game, especially while White has all his minor pieces flying around the board. And this is the theme of the ensuing variations that you're about to see. So for example, at the Rook HE1, matter of fact, I'll just play a nonsense move just so you can see what the threats are here. Basically, White just wants to play F4, and there's nowhere for the queen to go. So just keep that in mind. That's the major threat. So Black has to deal with that. So let's look at Queen takes H2 for the pawn grabbers out there. First, Bishop F4, and the Queen is already in serious trouble. Let's say Queen H5 to try to escape, and just simply Rook H1. Okay, if you notice, there's really nowhere for the Queen to go without being captured. Black's only move is just to give up a piece, and there's no to get the Queen out. So there's no use exploring that line any further. So Queen H2 is out of the picture. Again, Rook AC8 ignores the problem. F4, Queen E6, E5, and then we run into problems discussed earlier with this bishop being here. Bishop C6 addresses the problem somewhat in that the bishop moves out of the way of the D file, and it gives the queen an ability to slide back and escape in this way. But still, White has a great game. After Bishop F4, Queen E6, right, getting out of there, and E5, D takes, and Rook takes. And what this does is just exploit the fact that the queen is just so exposed. Let's say Queen C8, for example. Knight a5, right? So white can obtain a bishop here if you would like. And again, what to do with this rook. Say if you're trying to maintain, the rook. Say if you went, there, like where else you're gonna go? And just simply a3, and the rook is again really kind of forced to give up the exchange here. Rook b6, knight c4, rook a6, then rook takes e7. Okay, so again, just down material. So rook takes c3 is probably the best, with the idea that the rook and queen are lined up and you can exploit that somehow. So knight d7 and knight c6 here. B takes c6 and now queen e1. Knight takes, bishop takes, and after the series of exchanges, black makes it to the endgame, but white has the better prospects in the endgame. At the h4, rook b8, and queen f6. And it's almost impossible to stop white's plan without getting into serious trouble. White's plan is very simple, is to play g4 and h5 here. And this is either going to result in a situation where the pawn is on h6 and mate is constantly threatened, or a situation where the G file opens up after the subsequent trade and the king is just going to be too exposed. This line is also superior for black. Excuse me, for white. So far we've discussed queen takes h2, rook ac8, and bishop c6. Those are really the main options. So here again, black's main move that he has to go with is the dynamic rook takes c3. And then the question is, does white have enough for the exchange? Does black have enough for exchange? And I don't think so. Especially, there's several moves here. After looking at this for a while, I like this move a4 a lot. And the reason is because after giving up the exchange, black has to try to attack over here on the queen side. So for example, bishop e3, which is also a good move, with the idea of reclaiming this diagonal here. Black can play queen b5, they have bishop d4, and let's say rook c8. This is good for black also. And you could just play like a move like h4 and continue on. Again, black doesn't have enough. You could even go straight forward with h4. All of these continuations are good. F4 here is possible, but then again, queen b5 with this extra pressure here, and let's say queen d3 trying to trade, then bishop c4. Of course, black doesn't want to trade. And after this, white can just trade off that annoying knight. Then e5 strikes again. Bishop here. And make queen h4, attacking this pawn here. And black has to prove his compensation. Just doesn't have enough. But even with all those good moves that you could choose from, whether it be f4, whether it be bishop e3 with this idea, straightforward h4, a4, very stubborn move, and I like it because it prevents this idea of black even being able to come here with queen b4, queen b5. So let's say bishop c4, and now you start harassing the queen again. Bishop f4. You can see this idea of bishop takes, pawn takes. Of course, king b2 is an easy solution right here, but a dynamic move is D5, excuse me, E5. So now, if bishop takes here, of course, white is just winning. And there's really nothing that black can do here. Like say he tries to keep the party going by playing like queen c4 or something. You can just boldly take because there's no way he can check here or there. So e5 is the move there, which forces d takes. Bishop takes e5 is possible, but stronger is just taking here. Rook takes, and let's say queen c6, queen a6 is possible. Knight a5. And black's best here is probably this move. Queen takes here. Knight takes. And takes right there. Should be 3. And of course we can see the that black again has a uphill battle in trying to prove his point there. So there's 3 separate variations you can use here. Again, there's a4, f4, and bishop e3. Again, with this idea of just centralizing. So it depends on what style of play you are here. And then, of course, here you could just start your h4, g4, and all that stuff like that. And then after g4, h5, and continue like that. So these are the reasons why I believe that this particular variation is refuted or close to it. I'm going to show you another variation in the same line. That's like the sister or brother of this variation. So in this position, instead of just 95 straight away, there's an idea from old school player Bobotsov who played Rook AB8 here, and his idea was to employ the move B5, then play knight E5 to knight C4, and then when the knight is captured, it opens up the B file, and as you can see, the rook would then be well placed. So it's a good idea. With anything else, it takes time to implement those plans, and white has enough time to just go forward with his plan. White is fully developed here. So after rook ab8, why not just start your plan first? And that's what happens, is basically white gets there first. So h4, knight e5, or knight b5 is possible straight away. g4, and let's just try to stick to the guns. h5 takes, 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 and let's say after king a1, right? Who knows if you even need to do that. Black is just just too slow, and his attack there. So after rook ab8, you just get the ball rolling with h4, knight e5. Then again, you could just go straight up for the bishop trade. And if black tries to preserve his bishop, again, it's just amounts to a waste of time. Black really doesn't have time for such luxuries in the position. So knight c4, all of this stuff it's just too slow. It's just too behind. The 8 ball, queen d8 or whatever. Again, g4, H takes, H takes is most natural here. Okay, he doesn't want to trade the bishop, so you just swing the bishop back to e3. It's all good. The threat on this pawn right here. So that deals with that particular idea right there. And these are the reasons why I think this line, uh, 10 Queen A5, uh, is kind of in disrepute right now. If you look at games in the Accelerated Dragon, um, this line is, of course, people are gonna play it. Of course, every now and then they try to find new lines, but um, look at the wins for black, at of course, grandmaster level, between two kind of equally strong players, and look at black's games. If black wins, the win is like, kind of pulling a rabbit out of the hat or something in this particular line. Because many grandmasters don't even play this line. They might employ Queen A5 at some point, but they won't play it in this, at move 10. They might do other things first. Might play knight e5 first, or rook on c8 first, but you won't see it in this particular order right here. So, um, with that, I would think that it's pretty much refuted. All right. So, in conclusion, here from this position, like I said, I would like to think that that this opening is pretty much dead. Um, from black's point of view, and that it would be rather dubious to start your openings from Queen A5 um, and going into this particular variation, and that it's safer for black to try to get there maybe in other move orders, um, because based on my analysis and practice, it seems that not many grandmasters are playing this, and also um, just the lines in general look pretty rough for black. For example, in this position, it seems like the only viable move is just to give up the exchange. And it's clear that black just does not have enough firepower to, show any kind of compensation for it. So why go into, such a detriment early in the game? So with that said, I'm going to conclude this video. I'm going to do another video like this, um, but on the opening that is kind of like more um, obviously refuted. This was kind of, a little bit difficult to show, but I think, that I did a decent job of showing that black's prospects in this particular line are pretty much hopeless. So with that, please check on the links below. There's going to be videos related to this particular opening, Accelerated Dragon, and possibly just the Sicilian Dragon proper. And also, hit the like, subscribe buttons to help move my videos along in the Google algorithms. Also, please donate to my channel if you feel so obliged. And I'll see you guys on the next video. And everybody stay, healthy and maintain your social distancing and all that stuff. And I'll see you guys soon.